All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 449 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern Atlanta Falcons football. We did a twofer yesterday talking about Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley of the Falcons, and we talked about Southern Not State, the rivalry that is going on this week. This is Hate Week, and we're going to continue with that, talking about the preview of the Georgia Southern at Georgia State game. Is going to be at 2 o'clock this upcoming Saturday, the 8th of October. Man, it's October already. It's crazy, right? I want to talk about their defense against our offense. This is going to be part one. Part two, we're going to flip that and talk about our defense against their offense. So it's going to be a twofer that comes up when it comes to these two teams playing against each other, because I think this game is a lot closer than we want to think, and I want to err on the side of the game is being closer, because our high-power offense, it does look more dominant, but for some reason, Georgia State is favored in this game because they're home, so they got a 3-point favorite. I guess that really means nothing, but you automatically get 3 points if you're home, so it's primarily just a push between the two. We're going to talk about all that on this episode. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And I want to thank you guys for the support. You guys are awesome, from the YouTube side of things all the way down to the Twitter. When you guys come over to Twitter and support the posts that I put up and everything that I don't really get to talk about on this podcast, you guys are really awesome for responding and giving me more insight on what's going on. I can be found at VF Baller, and you can find me there on Twitter, where I'm talking about all things Georgia Southern Atlanta Falcons. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. Georgia State defense is actually not that bad. You know, we talk about all the points they've given up and all the things that they've done, but statistically, they're slightly better than us. And that's not saying a lot, because our defense is not the best either. But when it comes to playing what we do, I want to say they're not that bad, because we can be had. We really can. And so with the high power offense we have, I want to err on the side of this defense can probably, do some things against us. So we really need to be careful not going in this game too cocky or whatever the case may be. And because I like to talk noise. I like to talk noise about Georgia State. I done told you why I don't like this team. But when it comes to what's going on the field, I take it very serious. It's one of the reasons why they are 5-3 against us, because we haven't taken this serious. I believe in Coach Helton, and will give them some type of motivation, give them some type of push to take this just as serious as they've done in every game so far this year. If you look at what Georgia Southern's done throughout this season, they've taken a very serious approach to these games and been very competitive in every single one. Even when it comes to the Georgia State game, not the Georgia State, I'm sorry, the Morgan State game, even though we blew that team out, we took them very serious, and it showed. When we look at Nebraska, do I need to say more about that? UAB just had our number in the running game because we didn't know how to tackle for whatever. The Ball State game, we learned how to tackle, and we overcame a lot of stuff that we could have fixed. And when we turned back around and we played Coastal, very competitive game, and that game basically just went down to the wire. Anybody who had the ball last probably was going to win that game, and you saw what happened. Those guys, that last drive that they did, they just wanted it more. That's not an indictment on our team. Coastal has just been a team that's slightly above what we want to do in the Sun Belt. So we'll be back. We'll see them again, and tip my hat to them. But when it comes to Georgia State, these guys are 1-4. These guys are hungry for a win, and they got one against Army. These guys are going to have some confidence going into this game playing at home, albeit we already know the whole attendance situation at Georgia State. Don't even want to get into that. But when you look at what these guys are capable of, these guys can be dangerous. You got to look at something. I will talk about their offense on the next episode or part 2 of this, but part 1, I want to talk about their defense. Even though they've given up a good bit point-wise, you have to understand they're pretty much on par with what we do. They allow 238 yards passing, and they give up 197 yards rushing. There's basically 5 yards less than what we do in the rushing, but we're quite identical when it comes to passing. We give up 238, they give up 238.2, and we give up 238.8, so it's very identical. So as far as their defense against our offense, I believe that we can still be able to run the ball against them. I think we can be able to spread this team out. I don't think they have the guys up front to go up against what we can do as far as running the ball. And I think running the ball, once again, will be key against this team. It was very key against Coastal. We did very well against them. We actually did good against UAB running the ball. Everybody's going to look at this team and think that we're going to be pass, and we are. We're going to pass the ball a lot. We throw for 314 yards a game, so that's going to be a staple of this game. But to close this game out, to punish this team, to actually, in some cases get past them on certain draw plays or sweep or toss plays, the running game could be just as effective. And I think that's one thing that they're not going to look for, especially once we start coming out in a 3, 4, 5 wide receiver set. They're going to forget about how well Jalen White and Gerald Green can be. So, and also OJ Arnold, which I think he tweaked his ankle, but hopefully he'll be ready to go in this game, and he can be an X factor in this game because he can catch out the backfield as well. To be honest with you, all 3 of our running backs can catch out the backfield. So it's going to be really nice to see what those 3 guys can do. Because in my opinion, I already know that we're going to be able to pass the ball. I already know. I'm looking at this defense, and one person I do want to look out for is Quavian White. He has 3 interceptions on the year. He's going to be looking for something. He's going to look for opportunities. Braquise Brown is another one who has 1 interception already. So you have, a couple of guys that are in the secondary who going to want the football. And like I said, with a guy like Quavian White already have a chip on the shoulder, he's going to be looking for something in the secondary for the ball to come his way. As far as the front 7 goes, I'm not really too concerned. As much as their pass rush, they do got a couple of guys who can get to the ball. Blake Carroll, Jeffrey Clark, Shamar McCollum. Those 3 guys kind of stand out. They've been getting some pressure. Jonte Hunter has 1 sack on the year. But you also have a guy that Jordan, I want to make sure I say this name right. These 2 guys here, Jordan Venizal, I think I said that right. I butchered your name. I'm sorry. Jordan Venizal, he leads the team in total tackles. And right behind him is Antavius Lane, which is a safety. Now, I'm going to tell you something about that. That bodes well for Georgia Southern. I want this safety to think he can come down and get some tackles. Because if that's the case, that's 1 less person in the secondary. So that does bode well for us. But when it comes to this defense, when you got to watch these guys who are want to get some opportunities, those are the guys you're going to want to look for, especially when you're running or you want to pass the ball. We have to look downfield a little bit longer. These guys are going to try to come at Cal Van Treese. Now, one thing I will say that we've been doing a pretty good job protecting our quarterback. I think he's only been sacked like 2 times, maybe 3 times throughout the entire season. He's only been sacked 3 times in 5 games. You're doing something right. So with that being said, I'm not too worried about the pass rush from Georgia State. I'm not worried about that. If anything, I'm worried about their secondary. So like I said, if it comes to our defense versus our offense, those are the things that I want to look out for. I really feel that our offense can have we really can have our way with them. But like I said in the beginning of the show, I want to take these guys serious because the last thing we want to do is come through, have this team to be modeled up the way we are, being as dominant as we are. And I don't care what anybody say, offensively, we're very dominant. You don't have a quarterback that's number 7 in the country, not just in the Sun Belt, not just in the Southeast or whatever the case may be, what other stats you want to put up. Number 7 in the country as far as passing yards and not feel like you're dominant. Every team that we face outside of the UAB game, we've done a very good job passing the ball. And I don't see where this would be any different. My main thing is I am looking at a few guys here who want to have opportunities at, taking the ball away. And I named them, Quavian White, Bryce Brown. LeJontre Hunter has an interception, and I think he's the only one on their defense that was actually able to return one for a touchdown. So you don't want to give them those type of opportunities. As far as forced fumbles, they have 3 on the year so far. So that's going to be another thing that they're going to try to have an opportunity for. So You got to be able to protect the ball. One thing I think I like about our running backs, we do a pretty good job of holding on to the football. Hopefully that trend continues. And if it continues, I think we'll be all right. So this is one thing that I'm not too worried about. Running the ball, pass protection, and everything under that umbrella when it comes to actually passing the ball as well. I think we're going to be good on those fronts. So I feel that our offense should do some things against this defense, even though I gave you the cautionary tales of what could happen if we go up against this team. This team does seem a little opportunistic, even though that the things that they've done throughout the season hasn't been, the best when you look at what they've done against other teams. They basically gave up 35 points or more in the first 4 games, and against Army, they basically gave up only 14. And the fourth quarter of that Army game, they pretty much took that game into control and dominated the rest of that game. Now, Army is not known for moving the ball in a quick pace. They're more of a methodical run, time-consuming type of team. So that doesn't bode well for a triple option or option-style team. When you're behind, it really can hinder you. We've seen that in plenty of times at Georgia Southern. But with the team that we have is more up-pace, more up-tempo. You can look at something like what Coastal Carolina did to them when they beat them 41-24, or when you look at when you look at Charlotte when they put up 42, UNC put up 35, South Carolina put up 35. These are teams that are more oriented to throw the ball more, and we throw the ball more than all of these teams, probably without the exception of Coastal. So we throw the ball more. I think we lead the Sun Belt in passing yards, I want to think, per game. I don't have the stats in front of me, but when you're putting up 314 yards passing, that bodes very well for Georgia State. And for Georgia Southern. And we know, man, I just did that, didn't I? I called them State, and you know what I mean. But it bodes well for Southern where it comes to a point where we have the advantage against this team as far as airing the ball out and probably putting points on the board. I feel at the end of the day, even though I want to take this team very cautious and be aware of what we can do, I feel that we could take this team and probably put 50 points on these guys. I really believe that. But it all goes back to what we can do on offense against their defense. And also, without talking about in part 2, what our defense could do against their offense. Because this could be a shootout. But if we can get the ball away from them and give our offense more opportunities by getting some takeaways, it could be a long night for Georgia State, because we'll be able to put up more points on the board and we can run them out of their own stadium. Long live Turner Field. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Georgia Southern versus Georgia State. It is Southern, not State week. I want to apologize for the mishap. We get enough of that already when people already call us Georgia State. And I did that just then. Kind of get a little tongue-tied after a while, but we know who we are. We're the Eagles. They are the Panthers. GASO versus GAST. That's why I like to use sometimes, not get them mixed up, because some people like to use that U and think it's a big deal. I really don't care about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you did, let me know, or give me a 5-star rating on that Apple star chart. Give me some feedback throughout on Twitter. I am VF Baller, and join the Discord as well. The links are all down in the description. And if you want to donate and or support in various ways, all my links are down in the description. You can check all that stuff out. All right, y'all. I am going to get up out of here. Thank you guys once again for the phenomenal support. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. See you guys on the next one. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.